Because, I've been through a lot of stuff and with my health and all of that, and God is more than anything in my life. If you know this song, you can just sing right along with me. Amen.
Amen.
I lift my hands in total adoration to you. You reign on the throne, for you are God and God alone. Because of you my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration to you. You reign on the throne, for you are God and God alone. Because of you my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. Hallelujah. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything.
Bethany Park Towers, the Black History Month program. Our theme is I'm Black and I'm Proud. To give us a history of the modern civil rights movement in Kansas City, Kansas from 1956 to 1958 to 1968, Mr. Chester Owens.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Alvin. First, let me say about Deputy Chief Garner. You're looking at a good man. A good man.
Yeah.
Keep him in your prayers. He's a man who deserves our respect, not only just black folks, but all of the city. He stands when I know it's difficult. And you almost have to be in that position to know what he's probably going through now. And Miss Sewing, I'll get her. But we're glad to see you here. Alvin Sykes is Black history. All too often, we do not recognize our own and their accomplishments. In doing his work with his God-given talents, he was not trying to make history. He was just doing what he felt was the right thing to do in the pursuit of the truth. Let me quote from you in his book. How many of you have his books? Let me quote from you in his book. He said, truth for me has been so evasive and changing that why it's become so important for me to find out the whole truth throughout life. I salute Alvin. Alvin is one of my heroes. He's not nearly as old as I am, I don't think, but he's one of my heroes. And Alvin is the epitome of what we've got to do. Oftentimes we want to say people is up there and I'm down here. Alvin saw what needed to be done and he did it. Alvin, I don't know if you have a copy of the summer story. You do have it? Okay, well I'll take this one back then. Okay. I had one to give to you. Here, I'm going to give it to you. You give it to whoever you want to.
You signed it.
Yeah, I did under the, in the back. This is signature. I'll show it.
Okay. Now,
This is Black History Month, which began in 1916 by Carter G. Woodson. And I think we've lost our way in what really the goals of Black History Month, what he started it out to be. He had 4 goals he set out. And I think we've kind of lost our way. Hopefully we'll get back to it. I would like to talk about a subject that very few people in Kansas City, Kansas know anything about. And it's about civil rights in Kansas City, Kansas from 1958 to 1960. I chose those years because I moved back here in 1958 and it had already started. And as far as the civil rights movement in Kansas City, Kansas, the civil rights movement, the modern day civil rights movement, it really ended in Kansas City, Kansas in 1968. The civil rights movement for blacks did not begin in the 60s. It just began in 1619, when blacks were first brought to this country. Now, I'd also like to state that black history did not start in America. It started on the continent of Africa. In doing this speech, and I've done it a few times because there are not a whole lot of people. Matter of fact, I can only count 3 people that are still alive and tell you about the emphasis of what a few people went through in Kansas during the civil rights movement. And it's a story that many people do not like to hear, because most people watched us get our butt kicked. You all are probably too young to remember it, but most people ran and hid. I said only 3% of people in this country, African Americans, only 3%, really stood with King. Only 3%. But somehow we've got the image that there was a whole gang of people, probably only 3%. In Kansas City, Kansas, I would say it's probably 0.3%. Probably the largest protest rally for blacks in Kansas City, Kansas was held in April 1941. I said I was going to talk from 1958 to 1960, but you have to talk about what happened in 1951. It is so significant that I always include it. The North American Aviation Company, this is 1941, before World War I started. There was a meeting at Memorial Hall where now listen to what I'm getting ready to say, over 5,000 African Americans had a protest rally at City Hall. 5,000. I didn't say 500. I said 5,000. And the reason why, we were gearing up for World War I. We were getting ready to go off and fight for democracy. And North American Aircraft Company, which was building airplanes and a lot of stuff in Fairfax, and they were a subsidiary of General Motors. But the president of that North American Aircraft Company was named by the name of Mr. J.H. Kindleberger. Anybody ever heard that name, Kindleberger? Anybody ever heard that name, Kindleberger? Well, drive through Fairfax. There's a road called Kindleberger Road. Let me tell you what Mr. Kindleberger said in 1941. We're getting ready to go to war now. Applications for the job in the plant where we will employ upwards of 10,000 persons will be received at the temporary Kansas City offices in the near future. We will receive applications from both white and Negro workers. However, the Negroes will be considered only as janitors and other similar capacities. Keep in mind to get ready to go to war. He emphasized that under no circumstances would Negroes be employed as aircraft workers or mechanics in the plant. While we are in complete sympathy with the Negro, it is against the company's policy to employ them as mechanics or aircraft workers. There will be some jobs as janitors for Negroes. Regardless of their training as aircraft workers, we will not employ them in the North American Aircraft Company. Now you see articles and hear people talk about the North American Aircraft Company and all the people. Matter of fact, this is a magazine called The Roses. Now, this changed, but whenever I see this, they never talk about what really happened. From this rally, there were people selected to go to D.C. To protest. A. Philip Randolph had already threatened President Franklin Roosevelt that we're going to have a march on Washington if you don't stop this. So this group, which consisted of R.B. Brown, Bishop John Andrew Gregg, I.F. Bradley, a lot of people, well, 5 people were selected to go, or A. Porter Davis was the speaker. That's a whole nother person that we really need to talk about. They have a whole Black History program just on A. Porter Davis. But he was a principal speaker, and he brought the House down. But they went and they met with A. Philip Randolph. And A. Philip Randolph then told President Roosevelt, we're going to have a big march on Washington unless you change it. And so he issued an executive order prohibiting discriminatory practices any place in America on federal installations. Now, for those who remember the 1963 March on Washington, that's why A. Philip Randolph was called the granddaddy of the March on Washington, was because he started in 1941. I was born in a little town called Ashdown, Arkansas. Anybody know where Ashdown is? That's 20 miles from Texarkana, right on Highway 71. Highway 71 was the main highway. I lived there. My parents moved here when I was just almost turned 14 years of age. If you can imagine what it was like in Ashdown, Arkansas from the late 30s on up until we moved here in 46. It was different. Probably hard for you to imagine. Matter of fact, the little community I lived, Boston Daniels, he lived right outside Ashdown. He and my dad were good friends. My dad had moved out of the country into Ashdown where I was born. He and Boston were good friends. Boston was kind of part of our family. While there, we delivered the Kansas City Call newspaper. I delivered papers on a horse. Older brother had the job, and he turned it over to me. And I turned it over to my younger brother. As we got 10, 11 years old, we had to move up, and we did all kinds of things. You name it, we did it, from picking cotton to whatever. But in 1946, delivering the Call paper, there was an article that appeared in the paper about a man by the name of Isaac Woodard. I'm getting ready to read to you. This is called Whistle Stop. It's a publication put out by Harry Truman Library. A lot of stuff was happening, but here's what President Truman said. The summer of 1946 saw particular vicious racial incidents in Aiken, South Carolina. 3 white cops used clubs to gouge out the eyes of Sergeant Isaac Woodard Jr. A bare 3 hours after he was discharged from the Army. He still had his Army uniform on. This was one of the number of outrages against men who had fought for their country, and as an Army veteran himself, Truman was appalled. My very stomach turned over, he said later, when I learned that Negro soldiers just back overseas were being dumped out of the Army trucks in Mississippi and beaten. He was especially appalled by an account of the blinding of Woodard. He rose from his chair and said, my God, I had no idea it was as terrible that we've got to do something. And as you know, he did the executive order banning discrimination on force, plus a lot of other things. People really don't know a lot of things Truman did. I said that is that my brother and I, we talked about it. My brother was 2 years older, and I said, when we get old enough, we're going to try to do something. That was stuff from all over the world. People wanted to donate the eyes to Isaac Woodard. We said when we got old enough, we were going to do something. We moved to Kansas City, and in 1951, I joined the Air Force. And I was stationed in Tennessee. I came home on leave. I had kind of raised some questions on base I was in Tennessee. So they sent me home. And they said, you're going to the forest. I had no idea where I was going. The Korean War was going on. But I said after I got home, if I'm getting ready to go overseas and fight, quote, for democracy, I should have some of it here. Kansas City, Kansas was just as segregated as Birmingham, Alabama. You couldn't eat in restaurants, you could stay in hotels, you couldn't do nothing. There was a store at 6th and Minnesota called S.S. Kresge, and they had a large lunch counter. The building is still there. And I used to go in there, and then this large counter, but near the end, there were 10 stools. It was great, and that's where blacks sat and ate. The attorney sit there, Boston Danny used to sit back there. And the attorney who lived right down the street from us, named Miles Stevens, used to eat there. And one of my high school English teachers, you're all not old enough to remember Scotty P. Davis. You may have heard the name of Rebecca Bloodworth, but Scotty P. Davis had an evening meal there every day. So I went in, this is 1952, before the city. I put my uniform on and went and sit down at the lunch counter. 1952, that's his credit. My girlfriend worked there, so she went back and asked Merle Stockton. Some of you may know Miss Stockton. She belonged to Metropolitan Baptist Church. She ran the counter. She asked her, should I serve him? She said, yes. And they served me. Then I really had a problem then. I was leaving to go overseas, but I couldn't understand then why blacks would stand for that and allow it to happen. And it didn't change until the 60s. Martin Luther King